with the giant chasm of time that has passed between season 1 and season 2 of the Wheel of Time, there was one thing above all else that I've been dying to see play out in season 2 of the show. And now that the wait is finally over, having watched the first 3 episodes of season 2, I can finally discuss that topic of Matt's recasting. When this news broke nearly 2 years ago now, the whole fandom was in a state of shock, quite understandably. Barney Harris's departure was something none of us was expecting, and it left the writers with big decisions to make regarding not only how to handle writing Matt out of season 1, but more importantly, 1, who would replace Barney Harris, and 2, how would that person go on to portray Matt? And all of us have our answers finally. And that is what I want to discuss with you all in this very video. The different approaches that the 2 actors took when portraying the character of Matt. But before doing so, I want to know your opinions on who you've enjoyed as Matt more so far. Do let me know in the comments down below. Barney Harris throughout season 1 brought a certain feel or nuance to the TV adaptation of Matt. One that I think we could all agree had elements of familiarity to that of the book Matt, for those of us who love the character. But he also, alongside some of the writer's decisions which were made, managed to showcase a side of Matt that I don't think we'd seen quite before in the book series. It was one that showcased his love for his family through his 2 younger sisters, and he had this sense of duty that he felt towards them because of his alcoholic mother. And this was something which was never touched upon in the books in quite the same manner that the TV series did so. And it was through that side of Matt that we could also see that kind of reluctant hero that we know Matt goes on to become throughout the course of the book series, and would no doubt eventually go on to be like in the TV show as well. It was a clever and interesting way to showcase that side of him, which for me worked very well through the brief glimpses we got of it, which were scattered throughout the first season. Now, that's not to say that I didn't find certain elements of Barney's portrayal of Matt, that came off to me on a personal level as being a little somewhat off, shall we say. Barney's use of the well-documented, dry British humour might have slightly missed the mark when it came to the sarcasm and mischievous side to Matt that we all know, but we could still see it come through in his performances, of course. But I will say that the introduction phase to the character of Matt Cauthon is, I believe, the most difficult part to kind of nail right, to get spot on out of his entire arc, or his kind of evolving character that we get in the Wheel of Time series. I think the later phases of the character of Matt, like when he grows up and has all the experiences that he has throughout the book series happen to him, makes him into a more likeable and joyful and jolly character in a sense. And I just think that intro phase that they gave Barney Harris to have to kind of go through in season 1 played a slight part in how the character came across to us all. And I think we have to take that into consideration when we discuss his particular portrayal of the character and how it, came across on screen and to all of us individually as well as collectively. With the casting of Donal in the role of Matt for season 2, he had the unenviable task of having to work from a standpoint put in place by not only a writing team he had no prior working experience with, but also the work of the previous actor in the role of Matt, who was of course Barney Harris, in his portrayal of the character to contend with as well. Now, I would say Donal, for the main part, has navigated that exceptionally well from the little time that we have spent with him in those first 3 episodes in season 2. He brings a slightly different portrayal to Matt, which is of course to be expected, but it's one that I think is for the better in the long run. With where the story left off, it was quite clear to us all we would find Matt in a rather depressing state of affairs in Season 2, and that is just what we got, with Donal showcasing at times a broken Matt through his shared scenes with Kate Fleetwood's Leandrin, who has been for me the standout performer in Season 2. Donal himself touched upon his introduction to the show in an article released over on Decider.com. Finn revealed to Decider that his first days on set weren't with Matt's Emondfield pals, but with the phenomenal Kate Fleetwood. He gave Fleetwood and director Thomas Napper credit for making him feel comfortable in his new gig. I think they both understood that it was, a necessity to work really instinctually. We almost treated our scenes as if it was rehearsals for a play. We were in a black box studio and kind of got to experiment with the space. He also touched upon the kind of similarities between his portrayal of Matt and that of Barney Harris in Season 1. When I did finally see Season 1, I could find that there were correlations, maybe, subconscious correlations between Matt in Season 1 and Season 2. And I think that speaks to how clear the heart of the character is, It's amazing to think that there is a kind of subconscious correlation between Matt's personality and spirit, which is so vibrant, so loud and clear. Now, this is something I felt we got within the scenes that he shared with Leandrin. We saw the kind of vulnerable and depressed side of Barney Harris that we got in Season 1, and this was quite clearly at play within Donal Finn's performance as Matt in those scenes as well. Now, what Donal Finn does exceptionally well in kind of making the Matt Cauthon character in Season 2 his own is the subtle changes and the dramatic ones as well, in which he showcases the different sides of Matt in a way very different and very opposite to that of. Take, for example, the scene where he's listening to Leandrin walk further and further away from his cell. The way he acted out that particular portion of his scenes in Season 2 thus far that we've seen is pure brilliance in terms of bringing out Matt's unique and flamboyant side, which I feel would have been improvised by Donal himself rather than direction given to him. That, to me, in terms of Matt as a character, is kind of the pure embodiment of him. Just have a watch of that scene right now. Do you see what I mean? It's a fantastic addition and showcase of Matt, and is almost a playoff of Jack Sparrow in the Pirates of the Caribbean. There are other standout moments, of course, from Donal's performance that I just have to point out that showcase how fantastic a job he's done with his portrayal of Matt. Take, for example, both Donal Finn and Kay Alexander. They have incredible chemistry together when they shared their scenes in episodes 2 and 3, and it's something that I'm confident in saying would not have been the case with Barney's portrayal of Matt had he stayed in the role for this second season. Both Finn and Alexander have this effortless ease that comes across so clearly that they just bounce off of one another's energy throughout the scenes that they share. And it's something I'm sure the actors would tell you doesn't, come up that often throughout their acting lifetime. There's this subtle, or rather in some instances not so subtle, flirtation that is at play between them, that you kind of know will not go anywhere in terms of a romance, but just still feels natural between the two and their blossoming friendship moving forward. It's almost as if Min can sense who Matt is, the essence of Matt when she first meets him, and plays up to that in a manner that she doesn't, say, with Rand in Season 1. In her scenes with Rand, who she will of course become a couple with alongside other certain characters, she comes across as very cold and distant towards him. Now, you could say that's for obvious reasons, which I can agree with you on. But still, nonetheless, this was a fantastic scene to showcase a different variation on the somewhat flirtatious and charming side Donal Finn's representation of Matt will be bringing to this show. He also quite cleverly was given the freedom to go into what you would like to call the full Matt mode, thanks to the clever reimagining of Nanim's acceptor test. This allowed Donal to showcase Matt in a manner where his fortunes had been quite clearly kind to him over the years, and this allowed him to showcase the very flamboyant and charming side of Matt that otherwise would have been left hidden, I suspect, for the rest of this second season. His greeting towards Lan and Nynaeve's daughter was adorable, and I'm sure left a smile on all of your faces while watching that scene. Well, you know, up until the point it all goes south and they end up getting staked by the Trollocs, of course. Thankfully, that final scene has allowed us to see where Donal could potentially take the character of Matt in future seasons, which is something I believe we needed to see out of the character of Matt in this second season, as well as for Donal himself, to give a much more wider portrayal of Matt that we wouldn't have seen if we hadn't have gotten it. So I guess in conclusion, I believe that both actors did justice to the role of Matt, even if they've had contrasting methods in their ways in which they bring to life the character. Now, in terms of who I enjoy the most, that is hard for me to say, to be perfectly honest, as we haven't seen enough of Donal Finn yet in the role. But I didn't really want to make this video into something where it's who is better, who is the better Matt. It's more about breaking down these two individual performances of Matt that I wanted to discuss with you all, rather than a popularity contest. What I will say from this brief glimpse that we've gotten of Donal Finn's version of Matt, we are in safe hands with Donal when it comes to the character of Matt, and I cannot wait to see where he, alongside the writers, will take the character, not only in season 2, but also moving forward into season 3 and beyond. Right guys, thank you all for watching the video. That is it. If you've enjoyed it, do leave a like, and of course any further comments you have, leave them down below. And I will catch you all in many a further Wheel of Time video this coming week.